thing I notice that's different about the ads that conservatives make versus the ones from liberals. The conservatives wear that description like it's their first name. They cannot say it enough.
I'm a conservative outsider.
America's most conservative.
Top-rated conservative.
A real conservative.
Proven conservative.
Christian conservative.
America's first conservative. Conservative warrior.
I'm so conservative.
You're embarrassed by what liberalism has become, that the term is now irredeemably coupled with woke nonsense.
Bill Maher isn't backing down, and he's openly criticizing the Democrats for appearing weak, timid, and overly focused on woke politics. During a fiery monologue on Real Time with Bill Maher, the fearless comedian took aim at his own political camp, making it clear that nothing was off-limits. Bill Maher argued that the only way to rebuild trust with voters is through strength, courage, and unapologetic conviction. So if you enjoy bold and explosive political commentary, hit subscribe now because this takedown pulls absolutely no punches.
But you never hear anyone bragging about being a liberal. There's no liberal Bob Schmohawk as a liberal who wants to enact more liberal policies. Democrats might want to think about what that means. Because the implication is you're embarrassed by what liberalism has become, that the term is now irredeemably coupled with woke nonsense, which is a shame, because despite their nonsense, it's still generally a better product. But what does it say about your brand if you don't want to say what you are? So much of liberal politics nowadays is identity politics, and yet it seems we found the one thing liberals won't identify as.
Bill Maher didn't hold back when he accused liberals of becoming uncomfortable with their own label. According to Bill Maher, the problem isn't just about messaging, it's about the brand itself. He argued that the word liberal, once proudly embraced, now carries so much baggage that even longtime supporters hesitate to identify with it publicly. Over the years, a range of policies and cultural positions seen by critics as dismissive of scientific debate or everyday common sense have gradually eroded trust. As a result, many voters who once strongly identified with liberal ideals have started distancing themselves from the label. Not necessarily because their beliefs changed, but because the brand now feels unfamiliar, extreme, or disconnected. Bill Maher's criticism highlights a deeper identity crisis, where a political movement risks losing its own supporters simply because the label itself has become politically difficult to defend.
No education standards anymore. They will let you out of a public high school and give you a diploma, and you don't have to actually know anything, which used to be the mission of schools, knowing things. I know it's super important to stop the grooming of our kids, or, I don't know, to start it. And certainly critical race theory must be stricken from the curriculum, or who knows, maybe included in all of it. But, you know, while we're having those fights, could someone please notice that the kids don't actually know anything?
Bill Maher went even further, explaining what he believes is pushing people away from the liberal brand, and he pointed directly at education. According to Bill Maher, liberals have lowered academic standards in the name of fairness, promoting the idea that simply showing up should be enough for advancement. He criticized policies that reduced emphasis on testing, grading, and academic discipline, arguing they replaced achievement with entitlement. Bill Maher also referenced controversial classroom concepts such as critical race theory, which supporters describe as an honest examination of history, while critics see it as ideological overreach. Bill Maher's argument was straightforward. When schools focus more on messaging than on mastery, students ultimately suffer. The result, he warned, is a generation less prepared for real-world challenges while politicians celebrate symbolic victories. His broader message was clear: when education becomes driven by ideology rather than results, voters lose confidence, and the political movement behind those policies pays the price.
Seems they figured out that the people are dumb enough that you can put the positive and the negative in the same ad. Here's one we see in LA 100 times a day for Congressperson Young Kim.
8 times in a row, politician Greg Raths increased our tax rates and fees. Just like Biden and the liberals, Raths makes California unaffordable. Greg Raths even proposed raising his taxpayer salary over 60%. We pay more, he makes more. That's politician Greg Raths. But Young Kim is fighting Raths and the liberals.
That's right, I'm young Kim, and unlike my opponent, I'm in color. Come on, don't you want your representative to be in color? As opposed to an X-ray?
Bill Maher also targeted what he believes is a major weakness in the Democrats' messaging strategy. Instead of clearly explaining how their policies will improve everyday life for ordinary Americans, Bill Maher argued that Democrats often rely on attacking and demonizing their political opponents. The assumption, he suggested, is that if the other side is portrayed as dangerous or immoral enough, voters will automatically rally behind them. But Bill Maher warned that this approach is not only ineffective, it's exhausting for voters. People want solutions, not endless outrage. They want to know how their rent will decrease, how job opportunities will improve, and how their future will become more secure. According to Bill Maher, constantly focusing on the flaws of opponents instead of presenting a confident vision creates the impression of weakness. His message was simple but powerful. Fear may grab headlines, but clarity, strength, and purpose win elections.
And I don't chew on cigars or stuff cash in my pockets or get drunk with Washington insiders, and jail cell doors never shut behind me. When candidates in political ads say, I approve this message, they should have to add at the end, you dumb fucks. I'm Brad Turnbull, and I approve this message, you dumb fucks.
Sometimes political campaign ads feel less like persuasion and more like an insult to voters' intelligence. Dramatic music, dark imagery, and exaggerated accusations are often used as if fear alone will influence people's decisions. But most Americans aren't sitting at home waiting for a campaign ad to tell them who to fear. They're focused on paying bills, keeping their jobs secure, protecting their families, and building a better future. As Bill Maher has pointed out in his critiques of modern political strategy, voters respond far more to authenticity and real solutions than to theatrical attacks. When campaigns focus only on portraying opponents as villains, they risk looking disconnected from reality. People want leadership, not scare tactics. They want answers, not insults. And when political messaging ignores those priorities, it doesn't persuade, it pushes voters away.
Hear me say I'm strong on values and good for jobs, that I'm fighting for you and on your side, and I'm going to get things done and shake things up. And then I have a plan, details to follow, to clean things up. My God, my sleeves are rolled up. What more evidence do you need I'm the good guy?
This is often the most theatrical phase of politics, the costume phase. Suddenly, politicians roll up their sleeves, put on hard hats, and pose as if they've been lifelong construction workers. They shake hands with police officers, stand next to firefighters, and crouch down to talk with children as if they've known them for years. Everything is carefully staged, perfectly timed, and captured for the cameras. Even Bill Maher has mocked this ritual, pointing out how predictable it has become. Because once the election ends, the hard hats disappear. The sleeves go back down. The photo opportunities vanish. The same politicians who once seemed so accessible suddenly become distant and unavailable. They're too busy, too guarded, too important. That accessibility was never genuine, it was marketing. And that's what frustrates voters the most. The feeling that the connection was temporary and the authenticity was just another campaign prop.
Here's something I noticed that's different about the ads that conservatives make versus the ones from liberals. The conservatives wear that description like it's their first name. They cannot say it enough.
I'm a conservative outsider.
America's most conservative.
Top-rated conservative.
A real conservative.
Proven conservative.
Christian conservative.
America's first conservative. Conservative warrior.
I'm so conservative.
Many commentators often point to a clear contrast here. Supporters of the Republican Party frequently embrace the conservative label openly, seeing it as stable, grounded, and connected to everyday concerns. In their view, the brand feels confident and consistent. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party label has, in some circles, become politically risky. Whether fair or not, that perception shapes voter psychology. When people feel proud of their political identity, they promote it and defend it. But when they feel hesitant or embarrassed by it, they distance themselves. Branding matters in politics just as much as policy. Elections are won not only on ideas, but also on confidence, clarity, and conviction. The political side that appears more comfortable with its identity often looks stronger to voters, and that perception alone can build momentum going into future elections.
Finally, new rule, let's put a trigger warning on trigger warnings. A new study from Flinders University analyzed a dozen other studies on trigger warnings, and they all came to the same conclusion. They don't work. Not only don't they protect your feelings, but if you actually have been traumatized by something they're warning you about, a trigger warning makes it worse. It's like if seatbelts were made out of broken glass.
Bill Maher also criticized the liberal embrace of trigger warnings. Speaking on Real Time with Bill Maher referenced research suggesting that trigger warnings don't always reduce emotional distress. In some cases, they may even increase anxiety by making people expect harm before it happens. His criticism wasn't just about trigger warnings themselves, but about what he sees as a broader pattern, well-intentioned ideas that sound good in theory but fail in practice. Bill Maher argued that constantly trying to shield people from discomfort can unintentionally weaken resilience and create a culture of fragility instead of strength. His point was direct. Voters notice when policies fail to produce real results. And when political leaders repeatedly push ideas that seem ineffective or disconnected from reality, public trust begins to erode.
Those of you who have been living on an offshore oil rig for the last 10 years and don't know what I'm talking about, a trigger warning is a kind of close your eyes, here comes an ouchie. That, like so many bad ideas in recent years, got started on college campuses. Students started demanding them so they could get ready in case something in a book or a piece of art or a history lesson reminded them that life included bad things and not just good, and sometimes people were mean. You can't have that just sprung on you. Several universities in recent years have even compiled lists of words we should be warned about to get rid of altogether, including balls to the wall, no can do, you guys, master, white paper, man in the middle, gyp, off the reservation, peanut gallery, insane, and virgin. Virgin?
Maher has also mocked what he sees as the extreme side of trigger warning culture. He pointed out how ordinary words can suddenly be treated as if they're dangerous. For him, the idea that something as basic as the word virgin might require a warning illustrates how far things have gone. As Bill Maher often says, life doesn't come with disclaimers. It's unpredictable, messy, and sometimes painful. One moment can bring happiness, and the next can bring devastating news without any warning at all. That's simply reality. According to Bill Maher, trying to sanitize language or protect people from discomfort doesn't prepare them for real life, it does the opposite. Real strength, he suggests, comes from confronting difficult truths rather than avoiding them.
You would think that one would take the cake for the oversensitivity, but the students at Brandeis said, hold my baby bottle. They made a list of expressions they don't want to hear because they remind them of violence. Terms like killing it, beating a dead horse, and yes, even trigger warning. I guess they don't teach irony in college anymore. Anyway, at some point, the trigger warning escaped from campus and got out into the real world, and now they're everywhere. Warnings at the top of Reddit threads and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram posts. Warnings before your favorite serial killer series, before news articles. Disney put an advisory on the movie Dumbo, warning viewers about stereotypes because otherwise you might think it was a documentary about flying elephants.
According to critics like Bill Maher, the situation crossed a line when trigger warnings moved beyond university campuses and began appearing throughout mainstream entertainment and media. Suddenly, major studios and platforms started attaching warnings to scenes, dialogue, and themes that audiences had handled for decades without issue. Companies like Netflix and HBO began adding viewer advisories not just for graphic violence, but sometimes for emotional or socially sensitive topics. Critics, including Bill Maher, argue that this trend reflects a growing fear. Fear of backlash, fear of controversy, and fear of offending vocal online audiences. For Bill Maher, the issue isn't about protecting people from real harm, it's about a cultural shift driven by caution and pressure. His overall critique paints a stark picture, from weak messaging and ideological overreach to performative politics and excessive warnings. Liberals risk pushing voters away. Meanwhile, conservatives benefit from a clearer and more confident brand. In Bill Maher's view, authenticity, strength, and practical solutions, not fear or political theater, are what truly build public trust. And with that, we've reached the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.